Thank you. Welcome to 2023. This is our first CO and EdTech Leaders Webcast of 2023. Appreciate you all joining us. For those that are new, this is something that we do once a month for all of our OET staff and then for all of our districts. And then we need to take a look at a mic. Looks like we have a hot mic by somebody. So I need our staff scouring who that is. And so if you're not a speaker, go ahead and mute your mic. But now whoever that is, okay. And we also have our vendor partners and just our partners in general join us. This one's going to be special. We're going to go through a part of agenda. It's really a consolidated agenda. And then we're going to go to a closed session with our districts and our certain parts of our OET staff, certain districts, certain parts of our OET staff, and a vendor partner. So I'll get started. Let's first of all talk about the 2023 legislative session. These are short sessions. This is not a funding session. Our funding session will be next year in the January through April timeframe. The only thing, a major thing, is a long process. Even though somebody proposed a bill, it's a long way to the end. Only one of right now that really has impacts that's technology related is TikTok. TikTok is being proposed to not be permitted on state agency computers or state agency kind of by staff using state agency computers to access that application. 19 other states have implemented that for their state agency. The federal government has already implemented that. That's mainly a cybersecurity concern. None of the states, I talked with my peers about this last week, are implementing it for their K-12 schools. It will remain optional for K-12 if they want to block it or not. So we'll see how that plays out. We have an upcoming Kentucky Board of Education meeting in February. It's Office of Education Technology do a presentation about our additional budget request for the 2024 session, which is once again next year. Right now is the agency getting additional funding is a top, if not the top priority, in the top 3. So this is one of the steps to go through and have our board recognize it and as a top 3 priority, and talk to the different K groups that are out there, Kentucky Association of School Superintendents and board members, and all the K groups are out there. So this is one of the first steps, along with a meeting with a variety of legislators over the next 12 months. But just as a reminder, this was presented to the board in August timeframe. We also presented additional budget requests back in 2021. So this is what we presented this time, is kind of the greatest hits album of those two, a modernized. We'll also be including the infographic that I think we'll be talking about here in a little bit to our board members. And there's really 3 areas that we're asking for this, and we're asking the funding really to be brought up to close to $30 million from the $15.4 million it is right now, to hit really these 3 areas to increase the Kentucky Education Technology System KETS allocation to counteract the effects of inflation. We haven't had a cost of living increase since 1992. So it's about time. We're due definitely for that. Also, to restore the significant cuts that have happened over the past 11 years. That's about $5 million worth. To address the rapid increase and replacement of all the technology that's out there, that especially happened during the pandemic, because we know that this funding cliff is going to happen in 2024 with all this federal money stops happening. It comes end of life in 2024. So this is to address the total cost of ownership. And it also is to address $1.5 million, instead of us paying for the Infinite Campus costs, at least the state portion, out of E-rate rebates we get, is to move that over to a sustained funding source. It's kind of like trying to make your house payment or your rent payment on your income tax return. That's not a solid way to do that. We were thrown into that problem in 2006 when the legislature funded our student information system, but not fund the ongoing cost for that. And so that'll be one of the things we add in there. The number 2, besides increase the KETS allocation, is restore our full funding to our Computer Science and Information Technology Academy. This is where we give out and have students gain industry standard credentials And it's a wide range of credentials for the computer science industry. And we've done marvelous things with that, but also it's been part of the budget cuts that we've been having to absorb over the past 11 years. And the last item is to help address the people side of EdTech with all these things that have been put in place during the pandemic, is to make sure we have the right numbers of people and the right kinds of people to make this a good experience for our students and teachers. So that'll be a $30 million request, up from $15.4 million. So it's $14.6 million more annually. And we'll talk about that a little bit more until it goes, but so far, so good. Some just notes for you that we have registration for the CIO Summit. Obviously, we're to take a lot of your feedback that we received and develop that, and we'll work with you all on the kind of topics that we want. Talk with Lisa Moore right after this webcast. The registration will go out. Is that right, Lisa? Sound right to you?
That is correct. It should be to the field staff this afternoon for them to distribute.
Okay, good. We also have a couple reminders there for you. We have the E-rate program. E-rate program brings in, along with the emergency activity funds, we anticipate $67 million this school year. So it's an important program for us, obviously. And so we have some due dates there, some start and due dates, and then some when we're going to do the training out there by staff and just how to get this across the finish line. So that's available to you. Chuck, are we ready to do the infographic?
Yes, David. As a matter of fact, I'm joined by Mr. Park in the office, and Mr. Park is getting ready to come online. He just wrapped up with another meeting.
All right. Marty's going to talk about the infographic. We will also we have also worked on the people side of EdTech, which we are tremendously understaffed across this state with all positions and school districts, and also our organization as well, support this size of deployment and make it a good experience. So that will be, we'll go over that next month. But Marty, what's the latest on our infographic that we're going to present to our board and just for our districts?
Awesome, David. Thank you so much. And yeah, so this is the time of year when we like to launch our KETS Master Plan Digital Readiness Infographic. And I have the website pulled up, and I just wanted to share, if you're reaching out or you're wanting to get your hands on the latest infographic, it is inside of the 2018 through 2024 KETS Master Plan on our Kentucky Department of Education website. It's Appendix B, by the way. It's one of my favorite Appendix B is, but it is our surveys and results. This is where we capture and leverage data across the state that leads towards our digital readiness and our future readiness for Kentucky, for all of our public schools, including the Kentucky Department of Education. But we have an accessible version that is text only. But inside of the surveys and results is our latest infographic. And this is our January 2023 infographic launch. This is a unique partnership, and actually Ben Maynard on our team leads this effort. So a huge high five and shout out to Ben Maynard for working with a partner, and this is Google Bright Bytes, who helps us not only pull these data together, but to visualize it in a way that makes sense. Now, as a reminder, and if you've been with KETS for a really long time, like we all have, and if you're new, this is new information, but we used to take our digital readiness work as well as other data that is important to us to kind of triangulate or wrap around the full picture of annually what's going on with education technologies. And we used to write a big summary report. However, we found that when we take these data and visualize it with images that make sense, and that is more helpful, and we can tell a story visually, and it's helpful for many reasons. One, as David mentioned, budget requests. It's important people want to know what's going on in order to have the continued confidence in us to make these additional budget requests and approvals, and but just decision making. So this is our January 2023 infographic. And if you've not taken time to check it out before in the past, then I'm just going to quickly walk through the storyline. So it's number one, we are looking at the technologies that we all have invested in and are implementing. But then we're also looking at how our students and teachers are interacting with the technologies, how we're getting to use the technologies, the beliefs that we have about education technologies and adoption and things like that. So it's really important for us to look at it in multiple ways. And of course, 100% of our Kentucky public schools are and district offices are connected to the most reliable and the highest quality internet. That's a fact. This year, we have 247% increase in internet usage. So we always like to report on that with a 99.98% uptime, which is fantastic. 332 kilobits per second of bandwidth per student was available throughout the last 12 months. And of course, last month when we focused in on some of our digital readiness collection and activities, we highlighted some of these things. But in our infographic, again, we match not just the technologies and the access, but also the usage, adoption, and belief. And so 87% of our students who are a part of this work feel as though their school encourages technology use for learning. That's a high percentage. That's great. We always like to see that climb. 85% of our teachers rate the speed of internet at their schools as average or above average. Now, we know that when we hand the internet off at each school district and then inside of schools, there's a lot of things involved in that. There's a lot of pieces and parts and components. And so 85% of our teachers reporting, that means that their Wi-Fi is solid and great. That means that the school connectivity back to the district hub is great. And so that's important for us to kind of capture that statewide. Also, in terms of digital equity, we know that one-to-one implementations, our students having access to devices. Some of our districts, you have a strong reported bring your own device strategy where you tell your students and teachers, hey, bring whatever you have and we'll connect it to our networks and our Wi-Fi and our internet. And so we report on that every year inside of our infographic. It's nice to see visually where that sits. 100% of you in our school district as leaders believe that strong Wi-Fi access is important for every student to be able to connect at the same time. And so that's definitely awesome. We love to report on that. The storyline, so from access to digitally empowered learners, so this is our students, we match up with our the main concepts inside of our Kentucky academic standards for technology. And so digital communicator, digital designer, these are our digitally empowered learners. And we capture and report on what this means. 68% of our students are asked to write online regularly during the school year. 69% of students are asked to post and share their work online. As a communicator, then as a designer, students are asked to use digital tools to conduct. 78% are asked to use digital tools and conduct experiments or take measurements. Digital collaborators. So you can see the storyline starting to play out. Digital citizens. One area I want to call out is digital citizenship. 87% of our students say that their teachers talk with them about how to act respectfully while online. This is super important. We know that a single educator, a single teacher who drives value in how to be empowered and act respectful and responsible online has exponential impact with students across the state. So 87% is strong. We want to call out that 71%, and this is what we've tagged as an area of improvement, 71% of students are saying that their classmates always or usually treat each other with respect. That's a lot of room for growth there. And so 5.2% say their classmates never treat each other with respect. Again, an area for growth, an area of improvement. 97% of each district report having a strategic plan for teaching digital citizenship. That's super strong. We want that to be 100%. And so that's the storyline. Now, the story as students share what they have access to or what they're asked to do and what their beliefs are with using technologies or their perception, we then match that up with their access. And obviously, as reporting through STLP, that's a strong piece of this infographic. We match that up with what teachers are saying. And hopefully, there's alignment. And year by year, we see strong alignment. And so the story tells about educators and educators as digital learning designers and as digital communicators. A couple of things to quickly point out. 88% of teachers have students use devices for learning at least a few times weekly. That's awesome. That means that the investment that we're making in each school, in each classroom, in each district for every student, in terms of digital equity, there's alignment with instructional design. And so that's fantastic. We want to call out and point out, as digital communicators, this is fantastic. I want to jump down to 94, and this is awesome, because this is where we use technologies responsibly, respectfully, appropriately, but also to empower our families, to empower our kids. 94% of our teachers say that they communicate with students in person most frequently. That's awesome. That's where we want to be. There's that strong in-person communication. And now let's look at how technologies are leveraging from a communication perspective. 47% of our parents have access to Parent Portal. That's a strong percentage. We would like that to be higher, but when we match it up with our student access to Parent Portal, that story starts to play out, because we know most of our students. So for example, 94% of our students are connecting with their teachers through Parent Portal. So that's where that matches up. Our teachers are emailing parents, they're emailing students, and of course, phone and text messages. 84%, 88%. These are strong percentages. We have watched over the last 5 years the trend of districts, schools, classrooms leveraging learning management systems, not just for communication, but certainly for structured learning experiences. So 78% of our students are connecting with teachers through a learning management system approach, and that's as reported. So that's fantastic. That's great. We see that climb. Again, teachers as digital collaborators. And 92% of teachers feel highly confident managing students who are using technology. This percentage has continued to grow. For a long time, we saw the trend hovering where not as many teachers in the classic, and I love it because teachers I've worked with in the past said, look, my students now have devices and are connected, and we're engaging in digital learning experiences, but I was never trained to be a computer lab teacher, right? So the classroom management approach was tough. Now, more teachers are getting confident. And so 92% of teachers feel highly confident managing, and that's important, highly confident managing students who are using technology. That's fantastic. That's great. And so it's important that we have digitally empowered school leaders as well. 97% of school leaders feel strongly that they encourage teachers to try new things with technology, a great trend moving up. And so we end the infographic with some technology trends, some EdTech trends that are important. We've talked about this one in the past, but in the infographic, it's important to call out that strong trend towards mobility. This speaks to digital equity. In other words, we're going to give each other and assign devices to each and every student, to each and every teacher that they can use when and where they need to, not just on campus, but beyond campus. So that trend of mobility continues to increase. We predicted this 6 or 7 years ago. And it's great to see the trend moving in this direction. Of course, that means a lot. That means more support in different ways, as David spoke to the people side. More mobile connectivity, more mobile devices certainly speaks to some more support and additional supports in new ways. Again, trends on learning management system, trends on online and virtual learning are represented in our infographic. Certainly the digital footprint that we have across the state, we've spoken to this, 79% Chromebooks. We have 14% Windows devices right now, 5% iOS, 2% Mac OS, and then a declining less than 1% of Android types of devices, which is important. We have had more than 4 billion unauthorized connection attempts against our school networks that are blocked annually by our statewide cybersecurity shared services, which is fantastic. That's that layer that helps ensure that at the school and district level, you keep focusing on the things that you need to do for your teachers and students, and we'll continue from a statewide shared service perspective to take care of those things. Online assessment has continued to be fantastic and awesome. And then, of course, the KETS offers of assistance have stayed. Thankfully, we've all worked really hard to keep these at a consistent level. David just spoke to that 23, 24, 25 trend of trying to get that back up to where it needs to be. David, this is the January 2023 release of the infographic. That's important. I want to point out and mention that if you haven't had the opportunity or chance to use the infographic to drive a conversation, please take a few minutes, take a small group in your district. The infographic is a great story starter. It's a great question generator. When you put it in front of folks, then just take a minute to say, hey, what's interesting to you? What questions do you have from this? And then what we've done with it, because it's a statewide trend or statewide perspective, then look locally at some things you're doing locally in your district as a leader to say, now here's what we are doing for this particular component of the infographic. So you can walk through that storyline, which is fantastic. And it's worked really well. It's been very helpful to drive conversations, to drive questions. So David, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Do we have Mike Lettingham on? I know typically on Tuesdays he's working a specific topic.
I'm here today.
Okay, Mike, can you give an update on whatever you can say about the status of the contract?
Yeah, I'll speak about this topic across the board in general as much as I can. So next generation K through 12 internet, obviously we've advised on this multiple times. That continues to be an open procurement that we are continuing to work on. So really can't say any more about that other than we're progressing forward with the intent to establish a new contractual vehicle for our K through 12 internet services, specifically within the time frame required for E-rate application filing. Connected user experience. We've talked about the fact that we're pursuing a procurement vehicle by which we move forward with the connected user experience initiative. All likelihood to move forward with an RFP. So that preliminary work continues to occur. And so that's another one that's on the work schedule. Just a couple other ones to mention that some activity is going on. We continue to work within the department on a procurement option. Again, most likely and will be, I can say pretty confidently, will be through the RFP for the SEEK system, which is it's really a multiple systems that make up what we call the SEEK system, which is how we calculate and manage funding to all school districts across the board with our Office of Finance and Operations. So that's a pretty intense initiative that we've got going on. We continue moving forward with implementing the Kentucky Education credentialisting. I'm just going to go back to education licensure. I like to call it education licensure. But anyway, we continue to move forward with implementation of that. So that's moving well. And again, something that everybody does need to be aware of. And then this is the last thing I'll say in this whole topic area is, something that we do regularly, and I mention this once in a while, is we do review all of our contracts that we have in place that essentially establish product standards. And so anytime those are coming up for renewal or extensions or whatever, part of the process we go through is to review how well those are performing on behalf of the K through 12 enterprise as a whole. And so we've got a few of those that are in position right now where we're reviewing the validity of continuing those contracts, extending those contracts. Obviously, anytime that we feel like we have to question whether we should or shouldn't extend that, whether it's in the best interest of the K through 12 enterprise as a whole. Certainly, when I say that, I'm speaking primarily on behalf of all the school districts, or whether we have to take another avenue by which to establish how we procure those services. So anyway, I just want to mention that once in a while to make sure that folks understand that's a regular ongoing activity that we do to make sure we've got good services, good contracts in place on behalf of all the school districts.
Thank you. I don't see any comments, and we did post the Go Soapbox link, and just maybe something you want to use in our closed session we have there or the chats. I don't see anything there. So we'd like to thank our general audience for joining us this morning, and we'll be back once again next month. A little bit more information on all these types of things going forward. So we're going to say goodbye to you now. For those that got an invite and want to stay on for a closed session, please do. Otherwise, we'll see you next month.